On August 24, 2019, thousands rose to their feet as Kong Hee walked onto the stage at Suntec Singapore. 48 hours earlier, he'd walked out of Changi prison. He'd served time for criminal breach of trust. The biggest charity fraud case in Singapore's history. $50 million gone. But the crowd wasn't angry. They were crying, tears of joy. Someone shouted, "We love you, Pastor Kong." Another, "Welcome home, Pasu." Home. To them, their convicted pastor was coming home. This is not a redemption story. In 2011, Kong Hee stood on this same stage and told his congregation to downgrade their homes, sell their cars, give their last dollar. One couple sold their 5-room flat, $500,000 in Singapore, and squeezed their family into a 3-room apartment. They donated $20,000 to build God a house. That money built this instead. Between 2007 and 2012, Kong Hee and 5 church leaders orchestrated the systematic theft of $50 million, $24 million through fake bonds to companies they secretly controlled. $26 million more in a desperate cover-up that made everything worse. The paper trail was so tangled, forensic accountants needed 2 years just to follow the money.
I've been in this church for 23 years. I believe in you, Pastor Kong.
That's not a supporter. That's a victim. And after losing everything, she still doesn't know it. In 1989, Kong Hee was nobody special, a computer programmer in his mid-20s. His Bible study group met in a cramped HDB flat in Singapore. 20 people, plastic chairs, fluorescent lights. The air conditioning barely worked in the tropical heat. But Kong had something. When he spoke, people didn't just listen, they leaned in. He made Christianity feel different, modern, alive. While traditional churches sang hymns from the 1800s, Kong brought in electric guitars, while other pastors wore robes and quoted King James scripture. Kong wore jeans and talked like someone you'd meet at a coffee shop. The growth was insane. 1989, 20 people crammed in an apartment. 1992, they ran out of chairs. Then rooms. They rented a cinema. 1995, 1,000 members packing in weekly. 1999, 10,000. Here's what nobody talks about. Even in those early days, Kong was already teaching prosperity gospel. Give to God, he'd say, and God gives back, pressed down, shaken together, running over. Along the way, Kong met Ho Yao Sun. Beautiful, ambitious. A singer who went by Sun. They married, and she became Pastor Sun. But she never stopped dreaming of something bigger than church. And here's the genius, or luck, of Kong's timing. This was Singapore in the 90s and 2000s. The economy was exploding, property values doubled, salaries soared, members gave their tithes, their businesses grew, they donated more, they got promotions. It felt like proof. By 2005, City Harvest was packing Suntec Convention Center, 8,000 seats per service, multiple services each weekend, 33,000 members total. The collection plates brought in $80 million a year. That's more than some small countries' entire budgets. That's when Sun had her idea. What if her music career wasn't separate from ministry? What if secular pop music could save souls? They called it the Crossover Project. The congregation loved it. Their pastor's wife would sacrifice herself, entering the dark world of secular entertainment to bring light. Every album sold meant souls potentially saved. Every music video was evangelism. There was just one problem. Her first album sold so poorly stores sent copies back. Her second album? Most people don't even know it existed. And that's when Kong made the decision that would destroy everything. If the secular world wouldn't fund his wife's career, 33,000 faithful members would without knowing it. At first, the Crossover Project seemed legitimate. Sun Ho released Chinese gospel albums, they sold decently, the church celebrated, but Kong had bigger visions. America, the world. His wife would be a pop star. By 2003, Sun was recording in Los Angeles with producers who'd worked with actual stars. Kong told the congregation this was missionary work, reaching the unreachable through secular music. Here's where Kong turned criminal. He couldn't just write checks from the church account to Sony Music, that's obviously illegal. So Kong and his team built something far more sophisticated. Meet Extron Productions. On paper, Extron was independent. In reality, every director was a City Harvest member. Kong controlled it completely. The scam worked like this. City Harvest invests in Extron bonds. Looks legal. Extron pays 7% interest back. Looks legitimate. But Extron's real purpose? Fund Sun Ho's career. $13 million flowed out. Here's what nobody talks about. While members donated to the building fund on Sunday, that same money was funding music videos by Monday. Sun Ho and Hot Pants. Wyclef Jean directing church funds. The secular world didn't care. The albums went nowhere. Kong panicked. The bonds were coming due. Extron needed to pay the church back. But all the money was gone. Instead of confessing, Kong doubled down. Enter Furna, an Indonesian glass company owned by church member Waju Hanafi, the same man who co-owned Kong's Sentosa Cove penthouse. More bonds. 11 million this time. Round-tripping money in circles to hide the truth. While Sun recorded in Hollywood, families in Singapore were selling their homes for what they thought was a building fund. One couple downsized their flat, $20,000. Kong knew exactly where it was going. Then in 2009, auditors started asking questions. Where did the building fund money go? Kong's response? Steal another 26 million to cover it up. 50 million total. Kong was the architect of it all.
You give until your heart is broken. You give until tears stream down your eyes.
The crowd erupted in amens. By this point, Kong had already stolen 24 million, but he needed more. The bonds were coming due. So Kong did what he did best. He preached sacrifice.
More than ever before, the unemployed housewives are giving. Full-time NS men, retirees, students, 17 years and above, 16 years. Unequal amount, but equal sacrifice.
Equal sacrifice. Remember those words.
Nick and Connie sold their 5-room flat. They downgraded to a 3-room apartment just to give $20,000 to the building fund. Where do you hear people like that? People willing to sell their house and downgrade to build God a great house.
The congregation applauded. Nick and Connie became heroes. In 2007, the same year Kong started stealing church funds, here's what he bought. A $9.3 million Sentosa Cove penthouse. Co-owned with Waju Hanafi, the same Indonesian tycoon whose company Furna would launder the stolen millions. 5,200 square feet, ocean views, monthly payments, $17,000 each. Think about that. Kong's monthly housing payment was almost what Nick and Connie donated after selling their home. Sentosa Cove, Singapore's only gated island for the ultra-wealthy, where Hollywood stars vacation, where guards check your ID at the gate, where the cheapest home costs more than most earn in a lifetime. Kong's property empire, while preaching sacrifice, started $127,000 HDB flat in Tampines, sold for $420,000. Upgraded, Horizon Towers, private lift, marble floors. Upgraded, the suites at Central, $2.6 million. Ultimate upgrade, Sentosa Cove, $9.3 million.
You give until your heart is broken. You give until tears stream down your eyes.
That was Kong Hee from his $9.3 million penthouse, the building fund that members sacrificed for. It was paying for Kong's property empire. Nick and Connie's $20,000 was part of the millions that upgraded Kong's life while downgrading theirs. Here's the sickest part. Kong never even tried to buy church land. No architectural plans, no permit applications. The 39,000-seat auditorium was fiction. In 2010, some started asking questions. Where did the money go? Why no building? Kong's response, a 2-hour sermon about demons of doubt. By 2015, caught and convicted, Kong listed the penthouse for $10 million, trying to profit from the crime scene. He called it a temporary home. Temporary. After 8 years.
I've been here 23 years. I believe in you, Pastor Kong.
Our cell group doubled during the trial.
Today the penthouse is gone, but the members who paid for it? Still renting. Still giving. Still believing. They knew he lived in Sentosa Cove while they downgraded their homes. They knew he stole their money. And they thanked him for it. At dawn on May 31, 2012, 16 officers swept through City Harvest's offices. 2 years of secret investigation was over. They had everything. The evidence was damning. Sham bonds proven fictitious, round-tripping schemes exposed, BlackBerry messages between conspirators, meeting recordings planning the cover-up.
Make sure the auditors don't see the real purpose.
All 6 church leaders, all trusted, all guilty. The trial stretched 142 days, from 2013 to 2015, one of Singapore's longest criminal cases ever. Legal fees, over $10 million, paid by church donations. The victims literally funded their thieves' defense. The surreal moment, Sun Ho's music videos played in the Supreme Court, judges watching her perform in provocative outfits, prosecutors demonstrating where the money really went. The case was clear: 24 million stolen through sham bonds, 26 million more to cover it up. The biggest charity fraud in Singapore history. Kong claimed every transaction was a genuine investment. The crossover project was legitimate mission work. The scheme was systematic and deliberate. Guilty, all 6. Original sentences, Kong Hee 8 years, others up to 6 years. But then came the appeal in 2017. In a split 2-to-1 decision, charges were reduced on a technicality. New sentences, Kong, 3.5 years. Sharon Tan, 7 months for $50 million. February 21, 2018. After all appeals failed, Chu Eng Han made one last desperate move. The day before starting prison, he tried to escape by boat to Malaysia, caught at sea. 13 months added to his sentence, the only one who acted like a criminal. The verdict was so controversial, the government changed the law. Future directors who commit similar crimes would face harsher punishment. Too late for this case. All 6 were permanently banned from charity leadership. But church isn't classified as a charity. The ban didn't stop them from preaching. The judge said they showed no remorse. 2 years later, Kong would prove him right. August 22, 2019. 2 years and 4 months after entering prison, Kong Hee walked free. Good behavior remission, 1/3 off his sentence. The media was there. Kong said nothing. He disappeared into a waiting car. 48 hours of silence. Then Saturday evening, Suntec Singapore. The same venue, the same stage, thousands waiting. Kong Hee entered to thunderous applause. They weren't just clapping, they were crying, celebrating, welcoming their shepherd home.
I was convicted by the court for criminal breach of trust. I have served my sentence, and today I find myself humbled. Ooh.
Humbled. Not sorry, not apologetic to victims. Humbled.
I'm sorry for all the hurt, all the pain, all the anxiety that you've been through. And I sincerely apologize for everything that has happened.
Everything that has happened, not everything I did. Not I stole your money, just things that happened. Like $50 million disappeared by itself.
I have missed out a significant part of my son's growing up years. My absence has pained my parents deeply.
His parents, in their 90s, his son, a teenager, he made himself and his family the victims. No mention of Nick and Connie, no mention of the thousands who sacrificed everything, no mention of the money. Sun Ho stood beside him, the woman whose failed music career cost $50 million, never charged, never questioned, still called Pastor Sun. Remember, Kong was permanently banned from being a board member or executive of any charity. But here's the loophole. He can still be a spiritual leader, can't manage the money, can still ask for it. And that's exactly what happened. Kong returned as founding pastor, spiritual advisor. The title changed. The influence didn't.
We never stopped believing in Pastor Kong.
This is God's restoration.
He paid his debt to society.
Paid his debt? 2 years for $50 million? That's $25 million per year? The donations never stopped. While Kong was in prison, they gave. When he returned, they gave more. The church that raised millions for a building that was never built continues to collect. Today, City Harvest still meets at Suntec, still paying millions in rent. The building they sacrificed for exists only in their faith. Their pastor, convicted of stealing from them, stands before them every week. Online, his sermons draw thousands of views. The comments overflow with hearts and prayers. Support from people who know he went to prison, who know why, who don't care. They call it grace. They call it forgiveness. They call it God's plan. Everyone else calls it insane. This isn't just about Kong Hee, or City Harvest, or Singapore. Around the world, the same pattern repeats: prosperity gospel, building funds, financial complexity, scandal, reduced sentences, return to ministry. The playbook never changes because it never stops working. In America, Jim Bakker stole $158 million. He's back on TV selling survival food buckets for the apocalypse. In Korea, David Yonggi Cho embezzled $12 million. He died in 2021, but his Yoido Full Gospel Church, one of the world's largest, continues with hundreds of thousands of members. In Brazil, Bishop Edir Macedo built a $300 million Temple of Solomon, while his followers live in favelas. Forbes once estimated his wealth at over $1 billion. Singapore changed its laws after City Harvest. Directors who commit criminal breach of trust now face harsher sentences, but it only applies to future cases. Of the $50 million stolen, not a penny was returned to victims. Singapore law treated it as a crime against the institution, not the individuals. The people who sacrificed everything got nothing back. The 6 convicted leaders are banned from running charities, but 4 of the 6 are back in ministry. Only Chu Eng Han, who tried to flee, left the faith entirely, becoming Buddhist. The others still preach. The money still flows.
I've been in this church for 23 years. I believe in you, Pastor Kong.
We never found out what happened to Nick and Connie. The couple who sold their home, downsized their life, gave $20,000 to build God a house that was never built. Are they still in that 3-room flat? Do they still attend City Harvest? Do they know their sacrifice funded Sun Ho's music videos? In his recent sermons, Kong preaches about trials, perseverance, and God's faithfulness. About how suffering builds character, about sacrifice. He would know. Other people sacrificed. He suffered 2 years in prison. Now he's back. The collection plate never stops passing. The building fund never builds anything. $50 million gone forever. Not a penny returned. Not a single apology given. The only thing that came back was Kong Hee.